Welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast, where we sit down and have real conversations with business leaders that have been where you are. During these interviews, we'll dive into what it takes to improve systems and champion processes that maximize performance. Each week, our trailblazing guests share their experiences and understanding of the workforce to help inspire change, challenge our thinking, and share what it takes to successfully travel the road to profitability. Now here's our host, co-founder and chief evangelist of About Time and WorkMax, Mike Merrill. Hello and welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Merrill. Today we are sitting down with Ethan and Brooke Redden, the president and vice president of Redden Concrete. They are a turnkey commercial concrete contractor serving in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about Ethan's and Brooke's story and learn about how they approached taking on their family business, and also how Ethan was able to keep the company afloat back in 2008 during the really rough time for construction during that economic downturn, and also how they were able to pivot the company and change its historic offerings into the successful company that is today. So thanks, Ethan and Brooke, for joining us. We're excited for the conversation today.
We're glad to be on.
Awesome. Well, so let's just start at the beginning. So can you share, Ethan, maybe a little bit about the story and how you became president of Redden Concrete?
How far back do you want to go? Because it started a long time ago.
Well, let's start at the beginning, right?
Right. Well, I have been going to job sites since I could walk. My mother and father were both working class. My father was primarily in residential concrete. He specialized in house foundations, patios, porches, anything that you would basically see at your home. That's what my father did. There was no babysitter for my brother and I when we were young. It was go to work with my father. My mother worked as well, but we couldn't go to work with her. So we went with my father. When we got to a certain age, I would say probably 8 years old. So me and my brother would go to all these sites, and he would task us with, mindless, minuscule type task, which was extremely fun for us at that age. And it was stuff that needed to be done, and we would get it done. But with each year, he would teach us and task us with something else. For instance, the town I grew up in is Blue Ridge, Texas. And they have a community center there that my father did the concrete on. And I was in the 5th grade when we did that. And by the 5th grade, I knew how to operate a walk-behind trowel machine. And that slab, we had a small walk-behind trowel machine, and I remember being in the 5th grade using that walk-behind trowel machine on that slab. And my brother knew how to as well. He's 2 years older than I am. And we have our thumbprint on several things in Blue Ridge and the surrounding towns that I did as a kid growing up. And with each year, he taught us something new. I remember I started getting paid when I was 13 years old. And I got $5 an hour, which for a 13-year-old really isn't that bad, considering it should have been all profit at that point, and $5 used to buy a lot more than it does today. So we would buy. I'd save my money. My brother was better about saving than I was. You've heard of Harbor Freight Tools, right? So Harbor Freight Tools, they sell anything and everything, and typically it's more affordably priced. Uh, can't say that it lasts forever, but it's definitely affordably priced. And I was always into working, into tools, into creating, into building. And I would go spend my paycheck on Harbor Freight Tools from the magazine, because we got a magazine. I don't even know where our store was at the time. And I would have my mom order. I would tell her what I wanted, and then I'd give her the money, and she'd order it for me, and I'd have just a plethora of tools. Typically, the ones that always caught my eye were the neon handled ones. I had a lot of neon handled screwdrivers and different type of accessories, hammers and whatnot. It's funny, hard to wear a hammer out, but it seemed that I would always be getting a new one of some sort. I don't think I ever wore any of them out, though. Anyway, as times progressed, so did the business, and so did my brother and I. To a point that, we got up in high school and I was able to run a small crew. My brother was able to run a small crew. My dad would run a crew, and he was able to expand the business like that, primarily in the summer months, take on more work because me and my brother were available. And we'd pour concrete, and my brother and I also like to play baseball a lot. We played competitive baseball, select baseball, and my father would allow us time to do that because he was a fan of that as well. But it would be, if we had to get up and pour concrete, we would get up and pour concrete, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning to beat this Texas heat. And then we would be playing in baseball games that evening and get up and do the same. And it's funny, I sometimes wish I could find that energy and bottle it and sell it, because I used to have an abundance of that. And I see that in my children now, just that nonstop go. And that's what we did for a long time. And then let me see, back in 2003 or 4, my dad wanted me to go learn about decorative concrete. He says, I think this is going to be something. I don't want to learn it, but you need to. So he sent me to a couple decorative concrete seminars, which consisted of a day or 2 training seminars with a salesman that would go do a very, very small piece of concrete and make it look like $1 million.
Yeah,
and,
easy, right?
So easy.
Yeah.
So he would ask me what I thought. I'd say, I think I can do that. He said, okay, well, let's buy some decorative concrete tools. I said, okay, let's do it. And I learned real quick, and he learned real quick, that those little mock-ups done in those seminars, you can't really, that doesn't translate to the field right off the bat. And he ended up, I was 15, and I didn't have my driver's license yet, but I had a vehicle, and he had a subdivision that was going on maybe 10 miles from where we lived. And he would schedule the concrete pours for me to be able to get out of school and drive to the house that we were pouring and stamp the patios for free in order to practice, to get better at it. And there is a whole subdivision to date that has a ton of really ugly stamped patios done for free by me. But each one got a little less ugly each time. And that was his way of allowing me and teaching me to get better, because practice makes perfect. You know, it's you just don't pick anything up and start doing it. So he sent me to a few of those throughout the years, and I would pick up a little bit more, and then I ended up graduating high school and getting. I was fortunate enough to go get to play baseball in college, and I went, played baseball in college my whole first year. Enjoyed that and loved that. Ended up getting hurt toward the end of the season and tearing some ligaments. So that was towards the end of the season. It was fine. I came home that summer and went to work and was running a crew for Dad. And anyway, that I was scheduled for surgery to get everything repaired. And that fall, early fall, my dad ended up passing away in a motorcycle accident. And so that kind of changed the projection of things a little bit. And I ended up not going back to school and not getting my surgery. And I ended up finishing up everything that he had bid and under contract throughout that following fall. And I decided that in the spring, I was done with concrete. And it was, I was going to be done with it. I wanted to do something else. So I thought, I think I'm going to go be a personal trainer because I enjoyed working out. So I went and I ate a book or two within a small period of time and went and took the little test and passed it and started going out and applying for jobs as a personal trainer. And anyway, I got a job fairly quickly. This was during the recession, and realized within about 6 months that personal training wasn't really making it happen for me, and that I could do so much more, that I thought I was capable of doing so much more. So I ended up getting another job in retail and worked that for a little bit. And at this particular retail store, I had a guy that was coming in all the time, just weekly, buying almost everything on the shelf. And I would talk to him quite a bit, and I could sell him anything. I don't think anybody could have sold him anything, to be honest with you, at this point. But he had talked to me about coming to work at his company, which was in the oil and gas business. And I thought to myself, you know, I hear about people in the oil and gas business making it pretty big. I don't really hear a lot of people making it big in what I'm doing now. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to quit what I'm doing. I'm going to quit personal training. I'm going to quit this retail gig, and I'm going to go to work for this guy right here. So I quit both of those positions, and I went to work for this other guy and showed up to work. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I went in the guy's office, and he said, okay, I need to introduce you to Marty. He's my vice president. I said, okay, sounds good. He's gonna run you through it and get you settled in. I said, great, let's do it. So I went into Marty's office, and Marty was sitting down at his desk, and he shook it, stuck his hand out. I shook it, and we started talking, and he was, I could tell pretty quick, definite salesman. And anyway, he was wearing a white V-neck shirt with a blazer. And anyway, we got done with our conversation. He says, hey, I'm going to take you over here to Fred. right? Let's say this guy's named Fred because I don't remember what it was. And you're going to be working with Fred and shadowing him all day. And, you just listen to Fred, and Fred, you be his, you let him be your mentor, and you'll get it right. I said, all right. So Marty stood up and came out from behind his desk. And when he did, he was wearing flip-flops, athletic shorts, and had that white T-shirt on and that blazer. And I thought, man, this is something. What have I gotten myself into here? So he took me down to see the guy that I was going to be shadowing and working with, and he took me into a little small office that was very dark, and it had 3 or 4 cubicles in it. And I thought, this is strange. This guy told me I was going to be in sales and whatnot. And he sat me down and told this other guy, hey, show this guy the ropes. He's going to be training with you, show him what needs to be done. So he said, okay. So he put down a 3-ring binder in front of me with a stack of papers at least an inch thick with size 7.5 font filled up with people's names and phone numbers. And I thought, this is strange. So he said, well, what you do here is you're just going to start dialing all these, and this is your script right here. And I went, I think I'm a telemarketer.
Dialing for dollars.
Yeah.
So I called a few numbers there for about 10 minutes and would read my script and then get critiqued by old Fred over there, and he'd tell me that I'd really have to sell it. I need to really be exaggerate myself over the phone, and if I need to do that in person as well, do it. It helps for the sale. And I did that. I tried to do that for a little bit, and I ended up dialing the number of a guy. I think he was in Florida, and I don't remember his name, but I started out on my script, and he bit on it. And I thought, okay. So old Fred got excited because he was hearing me, and I asked the guy, hey, how about I transfer you to my superior so we can talk more about this product, that we're selling, this oil well. And anyway, I transferred him over to Fred, and Fred gets to talking. I quickly realized, because he's on speakerphone, that this guy bit in order to sell Fred something at this point. And he had said something along the lines of, oh man, this sounds great. I can't wait to invest, but let me ask you something. Have you ever invested your life in Jesus Christ? And I said, oh, I get it. This guy is about to preach to this guy. And Fred, being oblivious, is just hook, line, and sinker. Oh, yes, sir, I love Jesus Christ. He's my Lord and Savior. He's just rambling everything that you would hear off on, a televangelist, right?
Right.
And you can just tell he's full of it. And this other guy's being genuine and speaking with him. And anyway, Fred keeps trying to get back to the script and say, where are you going to buy? Can I put you down? Can we do this? And this guy's avoiding it. And anyway, I realized right then and there that it wasn't for me. This job wasn't for me. I wasn't going to be a telemarketer. And on that phone conversation, I looked over at Fred and I said, Fred, I'm out, brother. And I said, thank you. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the time. Tell your superiors that we're good. They owe me nothing. They don't have to pay me for this training. I want nothing out of it. Thanks, but have a good day, man. I walked out of there with quitting my other 2 jobs, just quitting that. And on my way home, I said, I'm going to do concrete. I know how to do concrete. I'm going to figure it out. So I told my mother, I said, anybody who calls asking about concrete, give them my number. I don't care what it is. Give them a number. And that next day, 2 people called her asking if, you know, about concrete. And she said, hey, my son's doing this now. Let me give you his number. And I went and saw both of those people, gave them quotes, and got both of those jobs. And I started. And didn't really have anything other than knowledge. And I think $3,000 in my bank account. But mainly the knowledge that my father had taught me throughout all those years. And not just physical abilities of how to work concrete, make concrete, set concrete up, but how to deal with people, how to talk to people, how to be able to get people to understand and trust what I'm telling them is fact, and that they can buy in on me, not just the product. So I started doing a bunch of small projects by myself, and then I'd end up calling a guy or two that I knew that, you know, worked with me when I was a kid, worked for my father, and they started helping me, and I would just do a little more and a little more and a little more. And I ended up, this is just the heart of the recession. And you would drive around to job sites that were going on, and they specifically had signs posted, several signs all over job sites that said, not hiring, not hiring, not hiring, right? Because they didn't want to be bugged with that. Everybody was looking for a job. So I didn't care. I would go on construction sites. I'd tell them, I'm not looking for a job specifically from you, but this is who I am and this is what I'm doing. If you've got a need, let me know. And I just drove all around to any job site that I could see anything being built. It didn't matter if it was a house, if it was a shack, if it was a mansion, if it was a school, telling people who I was and what I was able to do and what I would do. And I finally landed on a decent sized project to where a guy was relocating here to the area, and he wanted decorative concrete galore. I mean, this guy's whole place was everything decorative concrete. And I told him, I'll do it. I can do it. So I got into them and I started doing that, and do one thing, do two things, do three things. And then he told me he was building a big lake, and he was going to put a bridge across this lake. When I say a lake, private lake, I think it spanned in this area 110 feet or so. But he said, I need to build a bridge across this. You think you can do it? And I said, absolutely, I can do it. Never built a bridge
Right.
before in my life, right? But I realized, good thing about being young sometimes and not having anything is you have nothing to lose. You know, when you have nothing to lose. And sometimes when you're young and you're too ignorant or dumb to know better, right? I can do it. If as long as I can say I can, I can. So what I would do in that instance, and other instances after that on other applications that I'd never done, I went and bought a little Nikon digital camera, and had me a little desktop at the house. And I would go to other job sites. I would go to some bridges putting in by the county. I would go to highway projects. I would go to other school projects being built, and I would just walk up there and say, hey, can I take some pictures? Why do you want to take pictures? I'm just trying to learn. You know, this is who I am. I'm not trying to do anything. Sure. So I would go and take pictures with my little Nikon digital camera, and I'd go and upload them on my computer. And then I would print them out. And my 2 or 3 workers that I had, I would go out there, I'd get a plan, I'd draw everything up, and I would explain to them in pictures of how we're going to do something step by step, this, that, and the other, just 3-ring binder full of pictures of how it's done on these other jobs, and that's how we're going to do it. Because sometimes visual teaching is the best. I can explain to you how to build a grade beam right now, but you're not going to know how to build a grade beam. But if I provide you 10 pictures step by step, I bet you could probably put one together. So that's what I did. Ended up building a bridge. Very cool bridge. I'm still very proud of to this date, and it's actually a landmark for this town that we're in. And people all the time say, the guy that lives at the place where the bridge is over his lake, and that's still probably one of my most special projects that I've ever done to date. Although that's not my biggest project or my most high profile project, it's still one that's way up there for me. So after I did that, that really was a turning point for me because I'd done so much work, and I was able to showcase that to some of these other contractors and general contractors. Like, oh, you did that? And I'm like, yes, I did that. And that helped me get in my foot in the door in some other places. And during that time, whenever I was on that project, that's when I met Brooke here. And Brooke became very involved very quickly with the business because, one, I felt like she had that desire to, and she believed in me. And I guess I learned enough from old Fred to sell it,
You built a bridge to her heart.
There you go.
I guess so. So enter Brooke. Brooke's father is actually in construction as well and had some contacts at some larger general contractors. And when I had met him, I just kind of told him what I was doing. He said, hey, let me try to help you out. I'll pass your number and I'll give you some contacts. And I said, great. That'll help a lot. And he ended up doing that. I ended up calling everybody, and I ended up landing a few projects from that. And Brooke was by my side the whole time. She runs the office now, but it used to be me and her. She would come to the field 75% of the time to make sure that I needed everything to support me. Sometimes we got night work, and she would go with me all night, help me where I needed to be helped, accompany where I needed to be accompanied. She was committed. And with her, I was able to expand with her. If I had not met Brooke, I might not be talking to you today.
Well, we're glad you met Brooke.
Me too.
I remember I got this one project downtown in Dallas. It was a retrofit job, and I had invested in some concrete polishing equipment because it was cutting edge, new on the market, and it was a active business, and we were going to go in and we were going to fix this up, do this new cutting edge design. And Brooke went with me every night, and we would leave at, I don't know,
9 o'clock at night.
9 o'clock at night. We would work until probably 4 or 5 in the morning. We would go home. We'd get a few hours of sleep, and then we would still work during that afternoon.
I went to school.
She was going to school, I think, hitting some few classes.
Yeah.
Because she was in school for accounting. And that's what we did. And we didn't know anything else. And we didn't think anything of it. That's just what we did. That led to more work, which opened more doors for us. And we were able to eventually open a small office. We said, we need an office. And we went to some office suites there in McKinney, Texas, and we rented our first office, and it was 14 by 14 office, 14 by 14. That's our full office. And we both officed in there, and we would have, by that time, I think I had a supervisor or two, and 10, 15 field guys, and we were doing school work primarily because we were still trying to pull out of the recession. There was bond money out there that was guaranteed, and I was bidding a lot of that. I was still doing specialty type work that was out there as well. And we just kept on churning and kept on churning and kept on churning. I think one of the questions that you had earlier was how we survived during the recession, and I answered that with we had nothing, so we had nothing to lose. All we had was our will. We didn't lose that. We were strengthened by each other. We finally got a project that for a city, and we ended up having to bond that. And at that time, we were putting all of our money into the business. So, with better equipment, more tools in order to better it, we were sleeping on the floor, had our mattress on the floor. We didn't have furniture, bedroom furniture, anything like that. We weren't going to waste our money on that. We were going to sink everything into the business. And I remember I had a little bit of money. She had a little bit of money. And we weren't married yet. But we ended up putting that money together and going and pledging it in order to get a bond in order to do this project. And we went, we did that, and we did that project. And we grew a little bit more. About that time, I move on from those projects onto a substantial larger project with one of the contacts that her father had given me. I had kind of forged a relationship with him a little bit, and he signed me up on a large school project addition renovation with a ton of decorative concrete. So it was kind of right up my alley as far as scope goes. And I was on that project, and gosh, it was nearing Christmas time, and I get a phone call from Brooke here, and she says, "Hey, I think 2-3 months prior, I had asked her to marry me. However many months I'd asked her to marry me. So we were engaged, but she calls me. It's 12 at 11 in the morning. She says, "Hey, do you want to get married today?"
Wow.
And I'm sitting here a little bit, and I'm like, new phone, who dis?
Right.
And she says, "I'm serious." And I said, "Ooh, can't really back out of this now, right? I've already asked her to marry me, and if I say no, I don't want to get married today. Is there a good time to say when we're going to get married? How do we come back from this?" So I said, "Sure, let's get married today."
Were you Brooke? Couldn't you have waited one more hour? So it was 12 on 12, 12, 12.
I feel like it was about noon, but maybe I was trying to make it for noon. I can't remember.
Well, you know what? Eastern time, it was 12 then.
Exactly. There you go.
Anyway.
Well, somewhere.
That's right. 5 o'clock somewhere.
At this point, I can't really crawfish out of it. I've already asked her to marry me, and if I say no, I don't want to marry you today, but how about this? I don't feel like that's a meeting I don't want when I get home. So I say, hey, why not? And she says, great. This guy Mike here at the office is going to marry us. And I'm like, who? And she says, Mike, the whoever, the sewing guy.
He did embroidery.
The embroidery guy.
Oh, okay.
And so earlier that day, Brooke was at the office, and since it was an office suite, we shared this office suite with tons of other small businesses. And there was a guy named Mike in there. He was literally, his business card could have been a cube. He was a locksmith. He was a private investigator. He was an embroiderer. He was a DJ. And I can't even remember what else he was. But he did all this.
He was an ordained minister.
And he's an ordained minister. That's right.
The most important thing.
Yes. So he shows up, and Brooke's like, why are you dressed like that? And he's like, oh, I'm marrying 18 people today, and I've got a spot at whatever time if you want to get married. So, I mean, she bought in on that quick. And she reserved us a time. She said, let's get married. So it was happening. Well,
it was a Wednesday.
I had gotten back to the office there, and I was like, well, for sure? She's like, yes, we're getting married at 3 o'clock. You need to go get ready. And I'm like, I need to have a bachelor party, right? So I call like 2 people, and I say, hey, we're going to my bachelor party at the Irish pub across the street. We've got an hour. Meet me there. So I go over there, and I think we end up taking 2 Jaeger bombs, right? And we come back, and those 2 guys are the witnesses of our marriage, and we got married in our office suite. They had an upstairs conference room that was glass that looked out on everything, and we got married in that. That day in the clothes that we had on. Then we called our friends and said, hey, we just got married. We're going to go have
hibachi.
We're going to go have hibachi at whatchamacallit. Come on out. Don't bring anything. Just come out. So that night we ended up going and having tons of people.
45 people
come out on a whim.
Wow.
And we had sushi, hibachi, and whatever else.
But we got married that day.
We did get married that day.
Yeah. Wow.
And everything has progressed since in our business, in our personal life. And we've just kept trying to develop since that date. And it's been good. There's been some ups and downs, but it's the downs that makes you appreciate those up times so much more. And you can't have one without the other. So you thank God for both, right? Because one makes one that much better, makes it that much more real. The one thing that I probably did forget was how I met Brooke here. I actually met her at the gym. I was working out at the gym that I used to personal train at. And I'd come in, do my workout, leave, and she was working at the gym as a sales manager. And I noticed her noticing me. I noticed that Brooke kept coming up and cleaning the weights up in the areas that I was working out in from time to time.
Just checking on things, right? Just making sure everything's good.
And I thought, this girl, and I was a little bit oblivious. I said, this girl keeps coming over here and cleaning in my workout area station. What's wrong with her? This is so annoying, you know? But then I thought, but hey, she's pretty good looking. So, I mean, it could be worse. And I noticed that for a little bit, and I can't remember exactly, but I feel like one day I was walking out of the gym and she was at the, what's that called? Juice bar, snack shack, something like that.
The front desk.
Smoothie bar or something like that at the front desk. And she looked at me and I looked at her, and she's, Brooke, I don't know if you can see it, but she's got some piercing blue eyes. And I said, wow, you've got really pretty eyes. All casual, no big deal, and just kind of kept walking. And she said, hey, so do you.
Because he too has piercing blue eyes.
And I thought, okay. So I would make small conversation with her over the next week, maybe, in the gym when she was picking up weights in there I was working out in conveniently. And she was training somebody one day. I think it was a Friday or a Saturday. It was at the end of the week. And I went in and worked out. And I was walking out. And I said, I want to ask that girl out. But she was training somebody, trying to sell, a training package. And I thought, man, I've got to do it today. If I don't do it today, it's over, right? Why wait? So there was a sticky note that I got from the front desk. It was a trainer sticky note that trainers always write on. I said, let me have that pink pad over there. I was talking to someone at the gym. And I wrote my name and my number on it. And I said, lunch, ? 1:00. And
that's awesome.
And so I folded it up, and I walked over to where she was training that other lady, and I handed it to her, and I walked off. And I think it was...
You waited in your truck.
Yeah. So I did wait in my truck, not stalker-like at all. But it wasn't that long that I was waiting until I think I got a text or a phone call that says, let's do it. Let's do lunch.
I said,
I'll be off in 10 minutes.
I'm off in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm off in 30 minutes. So I sat out there for 30 minutes, and we went and had our first lunch date. And
the rest is history.
Yeah. It's in the history books, yeah.
That's right. Since that day, I don't think there's not many days that's passed that I haven't seen her. We don't spend a ton of time apart because, she's not only my wife, but she is my best friend. And I'm not saying that to be cheesy, but it's real. She's my rock and calms me down. I vent to her a lot. She speaks truth and reality to me a lot, and sometimes I'm like a bottle rocket. I get all mad and blow off and, pop off in the air, and she's the one that helps me come back down. And I'm very appreciative of that. And I think that is one of the things that has helped us be able to build and run this business, is because we love each other and communicate with one another, even when we're mad, happy, and we know one another so well that we're able to do that and still be husband and wife.
Wow, what an amazing story. There's so much there, and it really brings me back. And fortunately I had the opportunity to come visit your offices a couple months back, and it was so fun to just be in that environment and and be around your employees and just there to see and feel what was going on. But it felt like an inviting and a warm and a thriving and an exciting business and a place to work. And I was only there maybe an hour and a half or something, and or maybe not even an hour, but uh, I remember thinking, this is awesome. I need to come back here. I want to. I look forward to coming back again. And I had told Brooke, we should go grab some lunch or dinner or something. And she was talking about the kids and daycare and all these things going on, and thinking, man, these guys are right in the thick of life right now. So to be living life to the fullest, the way that you both clearly are, and running a thriving business and raising a small family and still adore each other despite the stresses and the chaos, is really a cool story. And I just thought, man, we really would love to have you on to share more about how this all came to be. And so it's fun to hear how you got to this point and what you've been through to get here, and more importantly, your perspective on where you're at now and how you approach things, because it's no surprise to me that you're wild.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We do put effort in that.
Yeah, it's obvious. It definitely shows. So Ethan, obviously you didn't intend to inherit a business. You were trying to get out of concrete. I mean, this was not, some people say, I always wanted to be, you probably wanted, like me, when I was a young man, I wanted to be a baseball player, or I wanted to play professional baseball, or, we have these other aspirations that sometimes life takes us down a different path. Is there anything you wish would have gone different, or that you would change if you could do it over again?
You know, no. People always think, what if? And everybody has that what if thought. What if I wouldn't have got hurt? What if my father wouldn't have died? What if I would have not met Brooke? A lot of what ifs, right? But when I look at my path, I am happy with my path. Even through the adversities, I am happy with my path and how it has been. And with Brooke, with my children, with my friends that I call friends that work up here, because um, some of them are like family. They've been with me for so long. I don't want to trade that. I wouldn't trade that. I wouldn't trade that for a Major League Baseball deal. I wouldn't trade that for a WWE contract. And I say that because
we love wrestling.
I like wrestling. That was when I got that personal training job, they asked me, said, if you could do anything starting tomorrow, just walk right into it, what would it be? I said, I'd go be in the WWE, because I feel like I'd be good on the mic, and which is the major battle, right? You don't have to wrestle
Sure.
that great. It's good to, but if you're good on the mic, the crowd will dig you. And anyway, I wouldn't trade any of that. I don't need people to know who I am. I don't care if they know who I am. I don't desire that, because my cup is filled completely with what I have right now, with Brooke, with my children, what I've been blessed to have in this business, and the reputation that we've been able to build, and the projects that we're able to do. It makes me happy to take my family and to take friends and show people when we go to a movie at a theater that we did all the concrete on, or to go sit and watch a sports game in a stadium that we built, or to have kids going to a school or go to a performing arts center that we constructed. It's I like that. I love that, and that fills me up. So I don't really have regrets or wishes, because I'm happy, and 100% content with how everything shook out.
And obviously, Brooke, you've played an integral role in this from the very beginning in so many ways. And I, again, being at your office, seeing you orchestrate and manage things as they came, and bouncing off the walls like a ping pong ball, but dotting every I and crossing every T. Obviously, you've got that eye for detail and that mind that has the ability to keep up with so much going on. How has the journey been from your side up to this point in watching and helping and also taking such an important role to build this business with Ethan?
For my side, it has been a very fun ride. The last 12 years, per se, I've learned so much. When Ethan and I met, I was very shy, believe it or not. I was actually really shy, and I I felt like maybe I didn't know how to assert myself in business like situations. I didn't hold the confidence. And if I could look back on anything that I have learned tremendously from Ethan, he's taught me confidence and how to stand up for not only what's right, but also what's good. And to help build our business to what it is, it takes a lot of confidence. And he has genuinely taught me that. Um, I've enjoyed the experience of learning about construction, a lot of things that I didn't know anything about. Obviously, the office side comes naturally with my background of just running books and doing accounting and things of that sort. That came natural, that came easy, but there was still so many things that I didn't know and I didn't understand. And there were so many technological advances that needed to happen in order to make our business more successful year after year after year. And just him instilling that confidence in me to go out and get those things and go out and do those things and make things happen for this business. Hey, you don't know how to do it? Figure it out. That's how you have to do it. And I learned how to do that. And I think that that's made me a more successful person in life, not only business wise, but personally as well. And I've enjoyed that growth. Um, Being a business owner is stressful at times. There are many, many things that you go home to, you take home with you. You take home the stress of the business. And that's just not something you can hang up at the end of the day at 5 o'clock when you walk out the office door. And that's something that Ethan and I have learned over the years to connect with and be able to deal with. He was saying earlier how I calm him, and I feel like I'm his voice of reason when it comes to those types of things. When he's had a stressful day at the office and I come home and he can talk to me about it so that I can help him understand the perspective or maybe my side of it that he's not seeing at that point in time. And that's also helped us grow as a business, because there's been so many times we've stood in the kitchen in the evening talking about something and had that aha moment of, this is how we're going to fix this. This is how we're going to move forward with this. And I'm just thankful for those times. I think that's helped us grow tremendously as well in this business together. But as a whole, I wouldn't change one single thing. I wouldn't change one single lesson. I wouldn't change one single mistake. Nothing that's happened over the last decade would I change, because it's helped us grow to exactly who we are and what we are today. And I think all along that that's been God's plan.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I couldn't agree more. And I know, I mean, you've got young children, you've got a beautiful young family. Your kids are adorable. You had, I think, one on each hip at one point there when you're moving through the office,
Yes.
and I was just, um, impressed and in awe of what you've built and what you're accomplishing. And I know, I mean, you have several hundred employees. That's not, you're not a small shop anymore, right? This isn't the 14 by 14
Correct.
office that you started in, right?
No, not anymore. We have 350 employees and 4 kids.
Wow.
Which actually is more like 354 kids.
Yeah, sure. I understand that. Well, and the other really cool thing, I mean, we've had some business partnerships on the podcast in the past, and it's been fun to see how different parts of the partnership take on the different roles and balance each other out. But clearly, this is how you guys roll together in life. This isn't just at work, but you obviously are a fantastic partnership in every way, and I think that's really cool that you're able to enjoy uh, not only working together and being successful there, but then taking that home with you and then solving some of the business problems at home too that maybe don't dawn on you until those quiet moments in the evening when the phone's not ringing,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
It's true.
I think it's cool that neither of you would change anything. I think that's a great perspective on life and a nice realistic way to approach challenges. And I'm again not surprised at all at your success in business. Um, you've been through the ups and downs. Obviously, you started in a very difficult time. Just after 2008, the really rough period, especially for construction, just crazy times. But you continue to grow and thrive, and who knows what the future holds. But at this point, it feels like you really have a lot of stuff figured out, and you got a nice trajectory into the future. What do you think? What do you think's next for Redden Concrete? What are your goals? What are you hoping to accomplish and become as you move forward?
We grew pretty fast through a 2 or 3 year period, and realized that that's pretty tough to manage. And we kind of capped it years ago and said we're not going to really try to grow anymore, but what we want to do is continue to develop. And hence why we're talking to you. Obviously, you're affiliated with one of the companies that we utilize in our development at this company. We are very tech driven in the field. That obviously is uh, folds back into this office well. Um, we don't necessarily want to grow. We just want to continue to develop and do, I guess, not necessarily bigger projects, but we're not scared. Just like I wasn't scared years ago, we're not scared now to tackle new things. We do have a wheelhouse, and we do like to stay within that wheelhouse. But we're definitely not scared to take on something new. When someone calls and asks, "Can you do this? Have you ever? How would you?" That gets me pumped. That gets me amped up when those projects come through. Like, how would you? How can we? And I'm all about those. I want to build our resume with those. I'm not really looking to uh, grab any more market share or do more volume, because well, that really doesn't get me anything at the end of the day besides more headaches, because that's that many more people that you have to bring on and train. And we're very selective about who we hire over here and who we train. And we typically don't hire from outside. A bunch of our guys have been farmed here and made here, started at a lower level and worked their way up. And I like that. I like what growth we experience will be from that, not from us going out into the open market to try to bring in. Our growth will be from the inside and from the guys that have been with us. And that's what I look forward to the most, continuing to do that and continuing to build our resume with one-off type projects that are unique. And then obviously continuing to develop new policies and procedures with different technologies that come out, because they help you mainstream things so much. And Brooke is an essential part of that, as to where I will get a call about some project happening or how to do something, and that gets me going. Um, I can handle that. I can do that. I want to do that. That's my forte. I am not the most tech savvy person that there is, but Brooke is definitely she can basically dive into that, and we will incorporate something in a small amount of time here, and then she just develops that as we go, and that's been able to help us in our development and the small growth that we do experience from year to year here. Um,
Back to that balancing, right? Yeah, great balance.
Yes.
but that would be my answer to that question. Long winded, but we're there.
So you brought up an interesting point, and I appreciate, Ethan, how you've articulated your story and really how you got to be where you're at. And it takes a humble man to admit, hey, the technology thing isn't really my wheelhouse, but I've got an incredible partner who loves that stuff, and it's actually my wife. It's Brooke, and and so Brooke, maybe you can share uh, what role technology does play in your world, in the stuff that is your wheelhouse. I mean, why is that so important, and how does that really help you not only scale but keep on top of the volume that you've been able to amass so far?
It is every single aspect of what I do for this company, every bit of it. Without the technology that we have placed in our company, developed in our company, without it, what we've been able to do over the years would not have been possible. Um, I mean, I kid you not, before we even came across you guys, we literally used to hand write our timesheets and hand enter our timesheets. And when you get to the volume of people that we have today, and you're still on that sort of technology, which really isn't even technology, that's just an ancient way of doing things. You don't advance. Without technology, you don't advance, especially not in this market when everything is going towards a tech savvy way of doing things. Um, you have to stay up with the times. And I use technology on the daily, whether it be just our accounting software alone, all the way up to what we have with you guys with WorkMax, our time integration system, being able to use forms through WorkMax to liaise between the field and here in the office and be able to bring us that paperwork instantaneously because, now it just flies through the sky in a split second. It has really improved our flow of work in this office tremendously. And I still look for ways to continue to advance that. We're actually about to implement a new system this next week, which is pretty neat, just on reimbursable items and credit card statements. Every company has credit cards. Credit cards are issued to certain employees, and those employees are expected to turn in receipts. But who does receipts anymore these days? When you can simply take a picture of it and file it in an app. And now we have a system that's being loaded next week that will use that app and submit those expenses immediately to be able to reconcile our credit card statement. That's how much it's going to simplify. We're going to go from pieces of paper that are probably underneath people's car seats to being able to be pushed in through an application within seconds. And that is going to streamline a whole nother process, which is a tiny process. It's just a credit card statement, but it's still a process within our company. And now it's going to be streamlined from a couple of days of work on that to just minutes, which time is everything. Time is huge when it comes to running a company. How do you maximize work volume within a time period? And technology is the answer.
Wow, that's awesome. And now again, we can see the balance of how Ethan gets out there and shakes it up in the on the job sites and makes it happen. Is building that bridge across the lake, and you're in the back office making sure that you guys get paid for the bridge, right?
Exactly.
A funny story about that bridge that I did. Uh, I was building that during October, and October is my birthday, and Brooke went and had a cake made for me that year that where I was at on the project, I had, I'd done all the deep foundations and done the footings, and I had stood the columns, poured the columns in place, and was working on the abutment walls. And Brooke went and had a cake made that resembled that job site for me. And she went to the hardware store and bought a bunch of little stuff to give the cake maker. And that cake ended up looking like a snapshot from above of the job site with all the little 3D piles of dirt, columns, and
The
everything
skid
like that.
steer.
Yes,
It
it
had a little
just
skid steer in there.
um, it was just to make mention of that. Like I said, just a special thing near and dear to me.
That's really cool. What an amazing story. What a journey. And you're just getting started, right? You're just getting
Yes.
started. So uh, thank you for this. I think we definitely need to have you back on and talk a little bit more about some other things. I think this has been a fantastic listen, and I think it applies to a lot of us out there. I love how you've attacked and approached the challenges. I love how you're humble enough to know what you don't know, but brave enough to try it anyway, right? And that's I think that's a great lesson in life. So from each of you, maybe Brooke, we can start with you, and then we can wrap up with Ethan. But what do you hope that the listeners take away from this conversation today, and that they can apply to their business or their personal life as it relates to what you've gone through?
My advice would be take risks, outweigh the options, just do it. You are your own worst enemy, and you will talk yourself out of anything. But be confident, make decisions, make things happen. You can do it. People can start businesses, everyday people just like us. We had absolutely nothing, but together we made everything out of it. And if you have even a good partner, such as your husband or your wife, take the leap of faith and do it together, because it could be something that your wildest dreams you could have never imagined. Um, but I would say just take the risk and do it.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. And Ethan, how about you? What do you hope the listeners take away from your story and what you've shared today?
Um, Brooke had a few good points in what she was saying. Right now, there's a lot of talk about the economy, what it's going to do, when's the bubble going to burst, right? Uh, I feel like there is a younger generation out there that, at the time, depending on what happens with the economy, they could take advantage the same way that I took advantage when I was young. And my advice to them would be to go for it. If you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. If you believe in yourself. If you don't know something, fake it until you make it, right? There is so much available at any person's grasp at any time if they just seek it. Uh, you know, just don't be scared. Don't be scared to fail, because failures are lessons. Failures hone you into the person that you are to become. There is no such thing as a success without a failure. So don't be scared to fail, because that failure should only polish you. And the more you get polished, the less you should fail, right? But don't be scared to do that. Don't be scared to take that step, like Brooke was saying. And for the younger generation, uh, that's coming into this workforce, that's what I would say to them, or anybody that might be tired of what they're doing. And if they believe that they can, if they truly believe that they can, do it, because you need to believe in yourself.
Love that. That's great. Well, that's a great way to end this conversation, and look forward to having the next one for sure. And thanks again for joining us today. This was a lot of fun, and I appreciate getting to know you both better, and look forward to continue our friendship into the future.
Thank you so much.
Sounds good.
Thank you for joining us today on the Mobile Workforce Podcast, sponsored by About Time Technologies and WorkMax. If you liked the conversation we had today, or were able to learn anything new or helpful, please make sure to follow us on our WorkMax page on LinkedIn and on Instagram at WorkMax_. And subscribe to the show on iTunes or your preferred podcast platform so you will never miss another insightful episode. Also, if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and review, and share the show with your friends and colleagues. Your support means the world to us and will allow us to continue providing impactful information with others looking to improve their results in their business and, in turn, their life.